Let's get to it, man.
Sure.
Tell us, I mean, I compare you to an athlete from a standpoint of you're recognized everywhere you go. We know all the basics, but tell us who Stephen A. Smith is from your upbringing right here in New York.
Native of Hollis, Queens, born in the Bronx, raised in Queens. I raised by the greatest mama in the world, God rest her soul. She passed away a couple of years ago after a long battle with cancer. She was married to my dad for 60, 61 years.
Old school.
That's her old school. He and I had our differences because, he could have treated her better, but he's still my dad and I loved him. But because of that, I was extra tight with her. And I was the youngest of six, had an older brother. He died in a car accident in Waco, Texas in 1992. He was like in this van. He was a salesman, traveling salesman. And it was 15 people in one of those sales vans. And the driver was messing with the radio and stuff like that. And it flipped over numerous times. And he was the only one that died.
That's funny. I was going to ask you about that.
That's right. He was
you were 25.
That's right.
My brother was 25. I was
24. I was 24, yeah.
And my brother was 25 when he died.
Right.
And I was 16.
Yeah.
And I know that affected my life. So I'm hearing you talk about it now.
And it was crazy altering because first of all, you start questioning a lot of things. It's like you growing up and this is your big brother who supported you. I got left back in the 4th grade because I got a 1st grade reading level. I remember cats in the neighborhood laughing at me, laughing like I was a dummy, I was an idiot or whatever. And the reason why I bring that up is because if there's ever anything that inspired me, that made me hungry, it was making sure that laughter would never arrive again. So the reason why it's relatable to this conversation, talking to y'all who I've been interviewing for years as NBA players, is that I've always been no nonsense, but I've always been straight. You see me coming. If I got an issue with you, I'm gonna let you know. If I got something I gotta report you ain't gonna like, I'm gonna tell you, all of that other stuff. All of that stuff comes from, believe it or not, that. Because when people were laughing, they weren't just laughing in front of your face, they were laughing behind your back. They were ridiculing you. They were minimizing you and diminishing you. And then somehow, some way, they would come in your face and they would smile and then act like they were supportive of you, and they weren't. So I was always the kind of person growing up, knowing that my mother was straight with me, but sometimes you had relatives that weren't straight for you, friends that weren't straight with you. I always prided myself in being the person that would be straight. That would be fair. You'd see me coming. You might not like it, but I will always hit you here.
Gotta respect that
It wouldn't
fact.
beat you in the back.
Right.
It wouldn't beat you, it would be right here.
Yep.
And so that same approach is what I took with me wherever I went. And so I went to school and I was stupidly telling my mother I didn't want to go to college, so she made me go to a trade school, Thomas Edison Vocational Technical High School right here in Queens, where I learned electrical installation. But then they discovered I could play some ball. I wasn't as good as y'all, but I could ball, I could shoot, and I had heart. And so I got a scholarship to Winston-Salem State, but it was after I did junior college at FIT, which was Fashion Institute of Technology. They used to laugh at me about it, right? They laughed at me about it, but I had two things going for us.
You learned something.
That's right. Oh, no doubt, no doubt. But here's the deal. I had two advantages. Number one, we were 35-4 as a junior college, ranked 15th in the nation.
Okay.
And number two, it was primarily a girls' school, and the other dudes were homosexuals. Now, that's their business, don't get me wrong.
Right.
But what I'm saying is, for
More for
those
you.
of us who were not,
Yeah, right in my alley.
it left it all to us, the basketball team. So college was beautiful to me.
Yeah.
And that was before I went down to Winston-Salem and playing for Big House Gaines. And when I tried out for him, one of the guys that used to play at the university at Winston-Salem. His name was Harold Funny Kit, played in the 70s, brought me down there for a tryout. And coach put me on the squad against the starters, and I hit 17 straight three-pointers. Signed me to a scholarship on the spot. But my first year there, cracked my kneecap in half. When I cracked my kneecap in half, first of all, I was down there at 145 pounds.
You was a little fella.
I was little, please.
Yeah, little
So
fella.
that's bad enough then, but then I cracked my kneecap in half. It was a D2 school, so they didn't have the facilities like the big schools had to help you rehabilitate. Had to come home for rehab and all of that other stuff. And my mother said, well, what you gonna do? And sure enough, I could write, I could report, I could do all of those different things. And a critical and persuasive writing teacher saw me and said, you're a born sports writer. Let me take you out to lunch next week and talk about it. And I didn't know, but he took me out to lunch. It was with the sports editor for the Winston-Salem Journal. He took me to his office. The man met me, hired me within 5 minutes to start off as a clerk and everything. And then
Working
I just
away.
went from doing that to being a beat writer for Wake Forest Soccer to ultimately doing internships in Winston-Salem, Greensboro, Atlanta, before getting my first job at the New York Daily News as a high school sports reporter. Stayed there for 14 months. Philadelphia Inquirer came calling. Went there, got promoted like 9 times, covered AI every day for
Yeah,
like the
that's
first
the
6
move.
years of his career, the whole bit. And that's basically it.